For decades, we've seen the most powerful groups on the planet. We're talking government, top-tier science, the media, all take a swing at investigating UFOs. But what if they were never actually meant to find anything? What if the whole thing was a setup from the start? In this explainer, we're going to break down one pretty wild theory, that the entire official story of UFOs has been nothing but a carefully managed 70-year deception.
You've seen it happen time and time again, right? A new UFO report drops, a government panel gets formed with a lot of fanfare, and then the result is, well, inconclusive. Every single time. So why is that? Our source for this explainer argues it's not a bug, it's a feature. It's not by accident, it's by design.
And this right here, this is the heart of the whole claim. The allegation is that every single official investigation has been intentionally infiltrated and corrupted from the inside. Now, that's a huge accusation. So let's take a look at the evidence the source puts forward to back it up, starting with those official panels themselves.
Okay, so the theory really starts with these official government panels. According to the source, their public job was to find facts, but their secret, covert agenda, well, that was all about control. Not discovering the truth, but controlling what you, the public, believed was the truth.
And look, this isn't something that just started. The source points to this really consistent pattern that goes back 70 years. It kicks off with the CIA's Robertson Panel way back in 1953, it keeps going with the Condon Committee in the 60s, and the source claims it continues right up to the Pentagon's AARO office today. The argument is that all of them were basically just for show, or, to use the source's own words, they were just dog and pony shows.
So, you're probably wondering, how could that even work? I mean, how do you get respected scientists and government officials to go along with a massive cover-up? Well, the source alleges it's done using a pretty classic trick from the world of intelligence.
It's called a NOC, which stands for non-official cover, and the concept is actually pretty simple. Your spy doesn't have an office at the CIA headquarters. No, they're embedded deep in civilian life. They have a totally legitimate job. They could be a professor at a university, a journalist, an expert in some industry. But all the while, they're secretly pushing an intelligence agenda.
And the source gives us what it claims is a perfect example from the 1950s, a guy named Dr. Donald Menzel. Now, publicly, Menzel was a highly respected astrophysicist at Harvard, but the claim is he was secretly on the CIA's payroll, and his mission was very specific: use his scientific credibility to debunk and ridicule the entire topic of UFOs. He even allegedly had his astronomer buddies throw pie pans in the air to show everyone how easy it was to fake photos.
Now, if you can control the government panels, where do you go next? According to this theory, the strategy didn't just stop there. The next phase of the operation was to go after the very heart of scientific authority itself, academia.
The way the source tells it, once one scientific debunker like Menzel starts to lose his influence, well, the system needs a replacement. They allegedly went looking for a new, super credible public figure who could pick up the torch and keep the skepticism going.
And this is where the source makes an absolutely stunning claim about one of the most trusted scientific figures of the 20th century, Carl Sagan. The allegation is that some kind of impropriety was found in his PhD thesis, and then he was given a choice, a really stark choice. Cooperate with us and we'll make you rich and famous beyond your wildest dreams, or we'll expose this and you'll be professionally ruined. The source claims he chose to cooperate, and that's how he became the new public face of scientific skepticism on UFOs.
All right, so we've got government, we've got academia. The alleged conspiracy just keeps getting bigger. What's the next pillar you'd need to control? According to the source, it was the media, the one institution that's supposed to hold all this power accountable.
And to really hammer home just how deep this alleged media control goes, the source points to this quote. They attribute it to a former CIA director, William Colby. I mean, it doesn't get much more blunt than that. It's basically saying that when it comes to this topic, a truly free and independent press just doesn't exist.
The source provides another really powerful story, this time about the legendary 60 Minutes journalist Mike Wallace. He supposedly got his hands on some explosive UFO documents and was ready to break what he called the biggest story ever. But the network killed the story. And the source connects this huge professional crisis to Wallace's well-known battle with depression, a period where he famously went on air and said, "I'm a fraud." The implication is that he felt like a fraud because he wasn't allowed to report what he believed was the truth.
And you know, this alleged control doesn't just stop with the news. It stretches right into Hollywood. The source tells this story about an Oscar-winning producer, Arnold Coppelson.
The guy had a $60 million budget and total creative freedom to make a movie based on real UFO disclosure documents. And yet, the studio supposedly told him he could make any movie he wanted, any movie except that one. The story was apparently just off limits, even as a piece of fiction. So, let's just pause here for a second. If these claims of a 70-year deception are even remotely true, it all begs one massive question. Why? Why go to all this trouble? And this brings us to what the source claims is the real endgame, the final move. So what is the ultimate goal? The source argues that these decades of control, stretching across government, science, the media, Hollywood, it's all been building towards one single world-changing event.
And here's where it all supposedly comes together. The endgame, according to the source, is all about two competing stories. On one side, you have the official narrative that's being built up. There's a potential threat from space, and to face it, we need a massive military buildup and global unity. But on the other side is the speaker's claim that this threat is going to be faked, a manufactured, false flag alien invasion designed to scare the entire world into uniting, justifying unbelievable military spending, and in the end, consolidating power on a global scale.
Okay, so if you're up against this alleged 70-year-long master plan, what do you even do? How do you fight back? Well, the source material doesn't just point out the problem, it actually proposes a direct countermove. But before we get to the solution, the source really wants to emphasize the scale of the challenge here. We're talking about a 70-plus-year operation. That means it's outlasted presidents, CIA directors, entire generations of technology. To beat that level of secrecy, you're going to need a whole new playbook. So the proposed countermove is pretty radical. You just bypass all the corrupted institutions completely. The plan has three main parts. First, you release a massive digital library of documents, photos, and testimony directly to the public. You just put it all out there. Second, you create a new, secure way for more whistleblowers to come forward. And third, you give them a new promise of actual FBI protection, creating a safe space for the truth to finally come out. And that's the theory our source presents, from top to bottom, a story of total institutional capture. And it leaves us with a really fundamental and honestly a pretty unsettling question for the times we live in. When the very institutions we have always trusted to find the facts are themselves part of the story, who or what is left to decide what's actually true?